I feel like there's just like one view of like a native person, and it's like we're all the same, and we go to powwows and we all do all these things. But like the beauty is like not every indigenous person is the same as the next indigenous person next to them. We're all different. We may have different beliefs, different whatever, and we come from different places. We do have a lot of similarities, but we are like it's a very complicated identity. So I'm Isaac. I'm a senior at Sonoma State University. I'm a psychology major and a queer studies minor. But with my mother's side, I am from a tribe in Southern California, Upper Mexico, um, and that is called the Tarahumara people. I'm from there for sure. My mom's side. My dad's side, it is rumored. I've been doing some research. I can only go as far back as maybe the 1800s, and that puts my father's family in around the Arizona, New Mexico location. So it is rumored in my family that on my father's side, we're either from the Apache tribe or the Hopi tribe, but nothing is set in stone. I didn't realize my ancestry until maybe after college. So everything that I've been learning has been within the last 3 or 4 years. I felt like I wasn't like enough in a sense of being like an indigenous person or stuff like that. The more I got into it, the more I realized like I started accepting the fact that I was two spirit and like what that meant and what that carried. So now like as currently now I'm kind of identifying more as two spirit than anything else, anything than like trans, because like I'm trans technically, but like from like a cultural perspective and just like as a queer perspective, I would consider myself two spirit. I don't always say that because it can be kind of confusing at times and people don't really know what it entails. I kind of see it as like pretty much no restraints, no limits in terms of like how I express myself, how I identify, how I behave. Like I do consider myself a native man. Like I consider myself a man, but I do also consider myself as two spirit, meaning like I feel like I have I feel like I have a lot of different qualities about me. Like I encompass femininity, I encompass masculinity, and I encompass androgyny. And I feel like at certain times I'm not 100% masculine in a way of in a traditional Western sense. I'm not like this manly man or whatever, nor that anyone ever has to be, but I feel like I incorporate a lot of my femininity into my masculinity. And it took a while for me to actually be okay with that. Just the, gender norms and stuff. I felt like, oh, maybe I'm too, maybe I'm a weak or sensitive guy. But then I started realizing like, no, this is just my nature and there's nothing wrong with that. I would say personally, I feel as I did more research about what it meant to be two spirit and this practice prior to colonization, I learned that two spirit people have historically been had very pretty big roles within society. Like most of them were healers, shamans, medicine people, and I feel like the way I heal is through my uh I guess through my words. I feel like my role is to enlighten people and to have people understand like there was a way of life here that was doing just fine. There was a presence here, and as much as we can go back to that, the better off everyone will be. Not just native people, but everyone will be. Nature, the planet, the climate, animals, it'll all benefit everyone. I noticed a lot of issues a lot of indigenous people face right now is like they don't know, where exactly they come from, or it's really tough. And I tell a lot of people all the time, it's meant for us to not know. We're meant to be disconnected. And if you feel disconnected, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're, any less indigenous or anything like that. But that was a big thing for me to kind of accept and feel okay about, because it's like I don't always know my history or my roots. It's a lot of unlearning. A lot of people don't understand that it's not necessarily learning, it's kind of like unlearning something, because I feel like all of us have been programmed um, to believe and act and behave a certain way, and it's just kind of just like taking that all in, being like, I don't need to do this anymore type of thing. I think the reason why people don't think Native people are around is just because of assimilation and not being connected, and it's very easy not to be connected. And I tell that to a lot of people a lot of times. Like, don't feel bad that you're not connected. Don't feel bad that you're not indigenous enough, or you're not this enough. As long as you realize that you are, that's fine. You don't always have to be like, I feel like there's just like one view of like a Native person, and it's like we're all the same and we go to powwows and we all do all these things. But like, the beauty is like not every indigenous person is the same as the next indigenous person next to them. We're all different. We may have different beliefs, different whatever, and we come from different places, but we do have a lot of similarities. But we are like, it's a very complicated identity. That's one thing I would say. A lot of people don't really realize. It's like, oh, all Native people just live on reservations and they're happy and that's it. It's like, that's one story of indigenous people, but that's not everyone. But yeah, even a lot of Native people who are just starting to begin that process, they feel like they have to be the most Native person in the world, and I'm like, there's no such thing. Like, there's no measurement on how to be Native. If you're Native, you're Native. Like, honestly, I think there's a sense of beauty um to figure out on your own, even if you don't get the whole picture. Even, I mean, I tell people all the time, there's going to be puzzle pieces that are going to be missing. They're just going to be, whether you like it or not, and that's okay. I would say, so just like, be proud, or like be compassionate of what you do know.